Hey everyone, and welcome to Already Cancelled. I'm Peter, that's Connor, and we're going to talk about The Leftovers, Season 1, Episode 4. It's called BJ and AC. Full spoilers for the episode, as always. And full disclosure up front with this. Right, first of all, we missed we missed one at the end of last week because things piled up and we just didn't have time. It was a couple of things got skipped. I had to skip a week. And then this is also late in and of itself. This was supposed to be up at least a day ago. And we recorded this already. We actually sat here and recorded 30 minutes of the review for this episode. We've already had this conversation, and then the recording software crashed, and the file was unrecoverable. We lost it. It's gone. So if this is a slightly weirder review than normal because we're kind of having the same conversation again, I apologise. There's not much we can do about it. It sucks. We were completely defeated when this happened yesterday.
Yeah, we spent a good while searching for a solution, but there was none to be found.
No, there was not. So we decided to leave it a day before recording it again because we felt like if we tried to do it straight away, it would have been even weirder because we just had the conversation. It would feel very forced. Whereas here we've had a little bit of time and we can.
Yeah, and I thought I can start us off with something that we didn't discuss before.
Oh, that's a
In the
smart
title,
idea.
in the title, what does AC stand for? Because the BJ is Baby Jesus.
Yes, yes.
So what's the and the AC?
Air conditioner.
Yeah,
Well, it's obviously
I
not
mean,
that. I'm just guessing.
that's the thing. I was like, that's all that comes to mind, but I can't think what it is in terms of in the episode.
Oh, AC/DC, like that AC.
Yeah, okay, very
Alternating
good.
current. That's what it is. I don't know. I really don't know.
No, okay, it's worth a try.
But yeah,
We've
so
spoken about some of the other titles, so thought we might as well.
fair, fair. So this one, basically it's Christmas time and the baby Jesus doll gets stolen. Turns out to be Jill, but it's stolen from the nativity in the town, and everyone's kicking up a fuss and wants Kevin to find it. The mayor wants him to find it, and he's reluctant at first. He's just going to buy a new one and replace it, but he kind of puts it back and he decides to. He thinks Jill's he thinks Jill's responsible. He kind of just guesses. Like, he just from the way she's talking about it, he pieces it together.
She's not exactly subtle, is she?
As she puts it, he is copying her.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like because we already talked about this. It's really weird to go through the plot again. It feels like really unnatural for me to describe what I already described to you. So I'm going to change the format of this one up a little bit, and I'm just going to talk about what I liked first, and then we'll just cover any ground that we missed afterwards.
All right. Let's do
Because
it.
because I had some complaints. I spoke about how some of the attitudes towards the baby Jesus thing felt a bit unnatural to me, and the metaphors they were a bit on the nose. However, I do think this episode had maybe the best scene of the show so far. The divorce papers scene is phenomenal. It is like I say, it's probably the best scene of the show so far. Uh, Laurie shows up with Meg because Meg can still speak, obviously, and Kevin's all happy at first. He's all happy to see them. He's like, oh, maybe this is the first steps of her maybe starting to come home. She wants to see them because you get the impression that she's not done this since she went to Guilty Remnant.
Yeah.
This is a new
Yeah.
occurrence.
The moment I love most about it here, when when they're all outside and they're going inside, and he's happy, he goes, "No, you can smoke inside." It's like, whereas I think it's very clear that there wasn't any smoking inside before.
Yeah,
That's why he's making a point of saying that because she's going to put it out, and it's like, "No, I'm conceding. Just you can come in, just as long as you're comfortable."
yeah. And they go in and Meg pulls out like a note that Laurie's obviously written and starts reading it out. And it starts off in a very sort of positive light. We actually learn quite a few things that we didn't before. We find out that Tom's not actually his son, biologically speaking. But she mentions you were a good father. You raised him as if he was your own. You were a great husband and all this. And you can sort of see where it's going. You can see that this is all heading to likely a divorce or something like that, if not that
Yeah,
specifically.
it was certainly heading towards something bad for him at the very
Yeah,
least.
and he's realizing that he's getting that sense as well, to the point where he starts telling Meg to shut up. He's like, "No, shut up! I want to talk to my wife here," and I love this scene. I think it does a lot for both characters, especially him, because I think with him in this scene, you're very sympathetic towards him, because he's not perfect by any means. He's not been an angel. He's definitely done some wrong things and made mistakes. But in this scene, it kind of encapsulates just how frustrated he must be that his wife just got up and left one day with no explanation. She doesn't even talk to him anymore. Like, there's no answers. It just happened. And here, years later, or months later, however long it's been, she shows up and is just throwing divorce papers at him. And you get his frustration at that. It makes a lot of sense, and you really sympathise. And one of the things that I'm really impressed about with this show so far is I'm really impressed that I don't hate her guts. Because I think it would be very easy, given everything that she's putting him and her family through, and other things we've seen her do as well, that I think in a lesser show where the writing wasn't as good, I might have a grudge with her.
Yeah. Do you know what impressed me most about this? It changes the context of some of the things that we'd had before as well, for me at least. Like last episode when, we had Matt's episode and he went to the house in the back to dig up the money, and she was there on the swing. And at the time, we said, maybe she's kind of still sort of on the fence. But now it looks like maybe she was looking at this and deciding that, this is what she was going to do.
It's almost, I would even argue maybe that it wasn't so much that she was deciding, it's that she caught herself going there often and that she hadn't cut ties enough. And then it led to the decision to go through with the divorce and make it like completely official.
Yeah, it was when she was caught there that she was like, this has to stop.
Yeah, exactly. So I like that. I like that her note starts with, I could have just slipped this under the door, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted you to see my eyes, because you deserve that much, at least, to see my face when this is read to you. Cause I compared it to like, breaking up with someone over like a text message or something like that, where it's just so impersonal, and especially with the end of a marriage, like either party deserves more than that.
Exactly, and I think it's something that makes her. It's something that stops you hating her entirely, because you get that you see on her face that she feels guilty and she feels bad that she's putting him through this. But obviously, it's something that she feels like she has to do. But she's still doing it the right way, or as much as the right way as she can.
It doesn't feel malicious. Even though they're not talking to him and just never give him an explanation, that part feels kind of cruel, but it doesn't feel like she's doing it to be malicious, even though that's kind of the result of it.
Yeah, it's clear that she's doing it for a personal reason for her, not to spite him, which is the difference.
Yeah, but she's not really taking into account his feelings for it either.
No.
I mean, she is to an extent here, because she's making the point of being there while he's hearing the note. So that is at least a part of that, and it's maybe more than she's done in a long while, which is maybe the irony here, is that she's finally considering his feelings in some way when she's not been for a long time, without ever giving him an explanation. But the one time she does, it's when it's the final killing blow. It's almost like a mercy thing. Like, you get this one last little bit of proper interaction, or at least almost proper interaction. My favourite part of the scene, though, is when he's like, he basically admits that he'll go through with it if she says it to him.
Yeah.
If she'll actually say the words she wants a divorce, because until she does, it's not real, kind of idea. And I love it. It's great, because it's like, for him, none of this is real. It's just this weird thing she's getting into, and it feels like it's been uncommunicated. Like, I think I said, they've never even. It wasn't like a normal marriage breaking down where the couples are fighting a lot and they can tell they're unhappy for a long time. It was very sudden. It was very just suddenly she's gone for some reason.
It's very much like what we saw with Meg and her fiance, where it seemed it wasn't perfect. We saw that, but he didn't seem too bad. And then she just up and left. She's like, no, okay, I'm doing this.
Yeah, and I think you really feel that frustration. So when he's screaming at her, say it, actually say it, and I'll do it. I think that works really well.
I think it's really poignant though, because it's in his mind, if he gets her to say it, that's it. She's broken her vows or whatever they take. If they take vows, I don't know. But like the idea that she's reachable. If he can get her to speak, that's it. She's not completely lost. So maybe he won't need the divorce after all. So there's desperation in that.
I think that's part of it. I think more than that though, he just needs to hear it. Like it's just he's just frustrated that she won't even say it, and it's like, I'm not even going to treat this like a proper request. I'm not even going to give it the time of day until you say it. And it makes me very interested to how would the proceedings go. If it involves bringing in lawyers and all the rest of it, like how does that go with her not speaking? Like, at what point?
I'd assume it would be pretty simple, honestly. I assume like her not speaking shouldn't impact it because you can still communicate.
Sure. Well, what I mean though is like, not that I think she would be trying to get anything in the divorce per se, but if she was, like, her not speaking and neglect, if you will, would be a serious case for him to win everything that he was trying to win.
That said, if she tried to get something in divorce, that point I would actively dislike her because we know she can't have possessions, so that would feel like that would be malicious.
Oh yeah, sure. It's just interesting, like, you know, if he refuses to sign anything, like, where does it go from there? Kind of idea, and maybe we'll find out. Maybe that's something, a path we'll go down. But no, I really like that scene. Really powerful. Music was really good, and of course, the end of the scene, Jill comes home and she sees her, and it's very awkward for a moment, and you're not sure how she's going to react. And you're kind of like, oh, is she going to like fly off the handle? Is she going to shout at her mother? Is she going to be pissed at her? And she goes over to the Christmas tree and she just picks up a present and she hands it and says it's for you, and she leaves the room. And do you know what I kind of like about this? I like that she doesn't. I think typically when a teenager walks in their parents like having this conversation, there's a certain reaction you kind of expect, and I kind of like that she's kind of already just kind of accepted that it's done. She's made peace with that. Maybe if Kevin hasn't,
Okay.
kind of idea. But it's when we go outside with them and we see what it is. It's a lighter that says "Please don't forget me" on it. And she immediately throws it away, even though Meg says, "Oh, I won't tell anyone if you keep it." But she throws it away. She makes the choice to throw it away, which of course she regrets later on because she comes crawling back after the rest of the episode. She comes back and tries to fish it out of the drain, and she can't quite get to it. And it shows that she is letting go, and she makes the choice. Like, there's times when she feels strong enough to like let go, like get divorce papers or throw the present from your daughter away down the drain, but then there's moments of weakness where she's like, no, I need that back, and she's trying to like claw back at it, and she can't.
I think the fact that she can't reach it shows that maybe these relationships are irreparable. Like, even if she leaves the GR and she decides, speak again, I think it shows that, no, these relationships, as they were, they're out of reach. They can't be fixed.
Possibly. I think for me, it shows the ups and downs of like her strength in terms of doing what she's doing. Now, arguably, we could say, well, why is she doing this? And we don't have a real clear message of that yet. But I feel like it's, like I say, there's moments of... when we recorded this the first time, I compared it to cake.
Yeah, it's a wonderful cake analogy.
Stick with me here, folk. It's basically, you have the strength. You see the cake in the kitchen counter, and you're like, oh, I shouldn't eat that. I'm watching my weight. I've ate too much. I don't want the cake. But if you leave it there, you come back, and then once you're in the kitchen later on that night or whatever, you go, oh, go on then, I'll just have a bit, because you're weaker later on. It's almost like she threw the cake in the trash, and then she came back in later and saw the cake, and it's like, oh, but at least because I've made that decision earlier, I've ruined it and I can't have it anymore.
This kind of thing actually happened to me the other day, inadvertently, with cake. Like,
you don't like cake?
I like some cakes, sort of cream cakes,
Okay, continue.
So I had some cake that I got from the shop. I had the girlfriend had like a quarter. We had like half each. We're supposed to have.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, do you know what? I don't want cake right now. I've just had dinner. I don't really feel like it. I'll have mine tomorrow. So I came home tomorrow, and the whole cake was gone. I was like, what just happened? She'd eaten the whole cake. So this is what happens if you don't have it in the moment. It might be gone.
This is like not the message that I'm trying to get across at all.
No. I'm just saying, if you make the choice in the moment not to have it, then you got to be careful because you might not get that choice again.
What I was trying to say is that she predicted that she would feel weaker later, so she made sure she couldn't get to it again. That's the choice of putting the cake in the trash in the first place. You're making sure you can't be weak later.
I know. I'm just still annoyed that I didn't get my cake. Just really looking forward to that cake.
Oh, boo-hoo. So no, all that stuff was great. I really loved that this episode. Kevin's whole like finding the baby, and then like he actually does get it back because he threatens the twins that hang out with Jill, and he gets it back, and he makes the announcement, and the crowd only seem to like kind of like whatever, they don't really care, which kind of played into, like, I was wondering early on, like, why does everyone seem to care about the baby Jesus so much? And it turned out no one really had, but they made it into a thing. Like, the mayor made it into a thing, and Kevin kind of believed it. But it ends with him going to the manger to put the baby in, and that's the only time in the episode we see Matt. Matt's already there, and he's already put a baby in. He's like, oh, I'd heard it went missing, so I had a spare. And it's just this idea that, even the priest is like, no, it's just a toy. It's just representing something. It's not actually important in and of itself.
Yeah, it's not actually Jesus.
Yeah, which leads to the fantastic, admittedly, a bit on the nose. The metaphor is kind of obvious, but Kevin throwing the baby Jesus out of the car window. Because he's literally throwing religion out of the window because it's doing nothing for him.
Yeah,
whenever he tries to do anything.
It's something that we've seen a lot in this show, obviously, especially last episode with Matt, where we had the whole thing where there was no one left in church because people had lost the idea of religion at the minute.
Yeah, whereas Matt is literally, like, despite the fact that everything's been taken from him, although he's got some money, he's got some spare cash now at least after winning all that stuff last episode, but he's literally had his church taken away from him. Yet he's still faithful. He's still.
He's still there going, no, I've got Jesus. I'm going to go and give this. I can still do something.
So sometimes, maybe it plays into almost, how the last episode was called, the two boats in a car, whatever it was, 2 boats in a helicopter.
Yeah.
It's almost like, sometimes these simple solutions okay, like just to go and get another one. Like that fixes the problem. It didn't need to be the exact.
Yeah, it wasn't really a big deal. It was just you want to have the complete nativity because that's it. But the actual thing there doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Jill, obviously, we see her when they had the baby. The kids are all sort of out partying, doing whatever, and she has this insane idea to give it a Viking, burial at sea, and she gets like a Nerf gun and they set it on fire and she's going to shoot it, and she ends up backing down at the last moment. I think this is kind of important just for her character, just to sort of talk what she's like, because it's her idea to do this, but as soon as all the other kids start chanting for it and it's like the cool thing to do and they all want her to, she backs out and says, I don't want to do this.
So I wonder if it is, I don't think it's as simple as that she is just being a hipster.
I wasn't implying that it was that simple.
No. Obviously, it shows that she's clearly got some issues with the crowds, and the idea of if everyone thinks she should do this, and then she wants to fight against it.
It's the same with her dad, though. Anything her dad thinks she should be doing, she's kind of rebellious against it.
It is. I think that's what is this here, though, is again to keep Jesus, the baby Jesus, is just the metaphor for religion in general. She's going, no, let's put it out to sea and just burn it. Let's get rid of it. But ultimately, she can't. Yeah,
at the last second, she decides, no, I don't want to.
I don't think it's actually to do with the crowd going, yeah, do it, and her backing down. I think it's more when she's faced with the reality of the moment, she's like, do you know what? No. And I think it's the show may be saying that for her, she hasn't actually completely lost religion. She's cynical, but it's still there somewhere for her.
I'm actually going to make that broader and say it's not specifically religion, it's just the idea of faith and hope. Perhaps.
Sure. Yeah.
Rather than her specific, because I don't know if I've seen any evidence that she's actually religious in the traditional sense.
No, that's true.
So it may just be the idea of faith and hope rather than specific religion. But no, I can see that. Although I still think she's a rebellious little shit who.
She definitely is.
Will just do things because other people don't want her to, and then vice versa.
Oh, definitely.
So that's the thing. So obviously we found out about Kevin not being Tom's biological father, and there's that great thing where he's feeling down and he goes to Tom's bedroom and he's looking at all the photographs, and it kind of neatly sets up what the guilty remnant are going to do later on, where Kevin's concerned about them coming to this school event that everyone's at, and he does this thing where they're not quite on the ground yet, because the whole idea is that if they come out of the property, they can arrest them, but they don't quite do it. They're smart enough to stay back behind the property line. And Kevin says, well, it's their words against ours, which, as you pointed out, is a very funny line given they don't speak. But they go and arrest him anyway. But, of course, Patty's kind of smirking at him because she knows that something else is going on. And all of the rest of the guilty remnants have broken into people's houses and stolen photographs of the departed from their houses, from their frames. Now, I did cynically point out that even at the time of the show being made originally, 2014... people have got their photos on Facebook and on Instagram and everywhere else online and on the cloud, as it were.
Yeah.
So it's more of a symbolic gesture. Although, admittedly, some of these photos might be like old photos that were before all that, and maybe they've not scanned them in and so on and so forth.
Yeah, especially if you have any older people.
Yeah. But I mean, obviously, that's not to diminish the crime. I mean, they broke into people's houses to do
That's
this.
it. It's the invasion
Yeah.
that's going to hurt as well. And I love the idea they tell photos. It goes back to their whole idea of why are we bothering to remember them? Because that's what the whole thing. When we got to the Remembrance Day, Heroes Day, is that what it was called?
Heroes Day, yeah.
Yeah, and they were like, you're wasting your breath bothering trying to remember them. And this is all, hey, they're gone. Just cut them out and just get rid of them.
Yeah. So obviously, it's a very dick move for them to do. I think I said it's the first truly antagonistic thing they've done where it's hard to sympathize. It feels cruel, and it's
That's
like
it. Even last episode when they took the church away from Matt, it didn't feel like it was a personal blow for him. Absolutely.
yeah, but that wasn't why they did it.
Exactly. That's it.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like they were maliciously targeting him that much.
They just wanted the church, they wanted the building, but he was just a kind of a casualty of it, as it were. And whereas here it feels like no, they're going out of their way to make people feel awful, and it will upset people. It will get in a reaction.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see where that leads to. But so no, obviously that was exciting. So, but I like that this kind of set up how important some of these old photographs were, because you have Kevin looking at the photos of Tom when he was younger. And even the idea that he unfolds that old one when she was pregnant and it was the real father on the photo. Just the idea of memories and like hiding them away and
Well, that's it, isn't it? Photos are typically how people remember. Even nowadays, when it's all just online, you look back on your Facebook of like, a party you were at 3 years ago, and you go, oh yeah, I remember that. And it's the same thing here. It's just the extension of, like, they remember the entire person who's gone just through that memory of this photo, and this completely tarnishes that for everyone who had something taken.
Yeah. Now, I want to talk about a scene with Kevin and Nora. Nora's in one scene in this episode, and she's at the school when this event's going on, and she's sitting down the floor next to a locker, her old locker, obviously. She's not a current locker. She's out of high school, and basically Kevin and her kind of meet, not necessarily for the first time, but maybe the first time on a personal level. Like, they've probably been in the same room as each other before, certainly, but never really spoke one-on-one. And there's a lot of things I liked about this. I like that they instantly have chemistry. It's kind of like two lost souls finding each other who are both feeling empty. They've both been abandoned by people they care about. He's just got these divorce papers. She just found out that her husband had been cheating on her before he disappeared. And they're both kind of lost. And I like how genuine their chemistry is right from the get-go.
Yeah,
it's really strong. I really like that. And they kind of joke about the lockers, but then there's that great moment where it's like I mean, he knows who this is because she's kind of like a town famous almost, because she lost her whole family. But there's that moment where she mentions, oh, that was her husband's locker, where he was, oh, yeah, that was you. Shit, sorry about your husband. And she just like hits out with, oh, I found out he was cheating on me. And he immediately just kind of honestly says, I cheated on my wife once. And we knew that. We'd seen that quick flash in the first episode about it. And she asks, why? And he pauses and thinks for a bit, and he says, is there any good answer to that question? And she says, I think I just heard it. And just the idea that he's aware that there's no good answer to that, and because there is no why, really. I mean, there's a lot of things you can speculate. Oh, maybe he was unhappy, maybe the marriage was,
But it doesn't justify it, is the point.
Yeah, nothing justifies it. And you can tell he regrets his actions. He's not proud of himself for what he did.
Yeah, he's not going around bragging about it.
And she can see that. But even after he admits that, there's still this genuine chemistry. It's not like she immediately just judges him and doesn't want to see him again. There's still like because it's after that where they actually kind of introduce themselves, or actually each other. Because she says, "Oh, you're Kevin, right?" And then he says, "Oh, you're Nora, right?" And they shake hands. It's probably the first time in the show where both of them feel like they're meeting someone who is their equal.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like, everyone else either of them talk to, they're either being antagonistic with, or they're playing with kid gloves. If either it's Nora working with the people who are trying to get compensation, or she's been angry at other people, she's been angry at her brother. Kevin's constantly having to be like sort of boss dad with his daughter. He's swearing at his deputies and stuff. Like, all that stuff, it feels like they're constantly at edge with everyone else. This was the first time where it felt like together they'd kind of bonded about.
Do you know what's funny? I was saying the closest Kevin has had up to this is Jill's friend, whose name I've just forgotten.
Oh yeah, Amy.
Yeah, that's actually because she's been almost acting like a surrogate mother for her. in the way that the way she talks to him.
Yeah, which is actually very amusing. Although he wasn't really happy with her in this episode because because after she said something, he's like, "You enjoy my sandwich?" Because she's sitting there eating in his house.
Yeah.
It was good stuff. But no, I really like the genuine chemistry. That it really feels like two people who kind of need to find each other or found each other, and yeah. So even though like there's not really anything in this scene to say, oh, they're going to be a couple or something. It feels like no, it's something that's going to be explored now because they genuinely feel like they should explore that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Even if they don't explore it romantically yet or ever, it feels like you want to explore them as a pairing in the show because they work together.
Now, of course, I've seen posters from later seasons and they look kind of close on those posters, so I'm assuming they do end up being kind of a couple. But like I say, even if I hadn't seen that, I would assume it from this scene. I would expect okay, they're going to have, whether it's romantic or not, there's going to be a relationship between them.
Yes, absolutely. That's it. You don't introduce two characters like this if you're not going to have a relationship of some sort.
But like I say, I really like how it feels like two people who have never had even footing with anyone else in the show in terms of, you know, both being in the emotional same place, and the fact that they even talk to each other in a kind of like they're equals. And I don't mean like in a social status kind of way or anything like that, just in the sense that the guards dropped and they just sort of have an honest conversation as opposed to constant arguments or fighting or anything like that.
Well, that's it. There's no scheming or anything at all. It is very much probably the most honest both of them have been. Her, the exception, would maybe have been her conversation with her brother, but that was still they were at odds, even though they were being honest. It was more of an argument. Yeah,
it was an argument. It wasn't this. So I think that shows that there's definitely some happiness to be had from them finding each other, and I'm curious to see that explored as we go on. So the one main plot I've not spoken about yet is Tom, who is with Christine, of course. And we actually found out it's been like 6 weeks since that's how much time has passed, because he mentions at one point that it's been 6 weeks since Wayne left him and said, I'll call you at some point.
Yeah.
So they've been moving around, he's with her, and this naked guy, well, he's got a shirt on, but he's otherwise naked, comes in and he talks about, Christine mentions she spoke to him once or twice casually, but he comes in saying, oh, you've got something inside you. He talks about seeing her in his dream, and she's pregnant with Wayne's kid, so he's talking about, oh, you've got something inside you, and that's kind of what it's alluding to. Interesting about this scene though is my cat was sitting on like in front of the TV, so the cat was sitting in the corner where this guy's sort of like crotch was when he first walked in, so I didn't actually see right away that he didn't have any pants on, any trousers or whatever. So I didn't realise until Tom, because obviously he still acts aggressive, he still comes up and sort of grabs her. So Tom jumping for him still made sense, but it wasn't until they were actually wrestling on the ground that I actually saw his wang flapping about like no tomorrow. And I went, oh, his dick's out. Oh, okay, that's way more intimidating then.
It just immediately shows he's much more unhinged than you realise.
Oh yeah, some guy walks towards you, with his cock out, you're like, oh, okay, right. I'm worried about this what the gentleman's about to try.
Well, that's it, isn't it? It's more. It's not that necessarily he's going to try anything with it, but it's idea that...
No, it's not for a second that I think... If someone's walking towards me in the street with his cock out, I'm not thinking, oh, he's really trying to do something sexual to me. I just think, this guy is clearly bananas. I am worried about what he's going to try.
That's it, isn't it? It's if he has not got any care in the world about this, he's clearly not all there, and he then, therefore, cannot be trusted to act rationally.
Unless he's got a smell on his face, like he knows he's streaking. In which case, I get what the joke is.
Yeah, that's different.
He's doing it for shock value, yeah, but yeah. So, as I say, they go to the hospital. The nurse assumes Tom is abusing her because she's got a bruise from being attacked, and he's got like a bloody fist because he was fighting the guy. And he actually gets so disillusioned because him and Christine are kind of falling apart. And again, it's kind of, you understand his frustration here. Actually, you kind of sympathise with him a lot because he has feelings for Christine, but every time he thinks they're getting close, Christine will say something like, oh, don't worry, Wayne will save us, or Wayne will call us, or Wayne will protect us. And it's kind of that, it's like he's in the friend zone. It's like a really extreme example of being in the friend zone, but he's actually protecting her while she's pregnant with his baby, and she is like cult-like levels, completely brainwashed. Like, no, he's the savior, he's the Lord and Savior.
Yeah. I do think it's interesting that the further away he's gone from Wayne, he's kind of his head's cleared a bit.
Yeah.
Because he was never as totally in on it as she was from the start, but he was willing to go along with this still. And
Yeah.
he built no. When Wayne said she's important, you got to protect her, he didn't question it.
Yeah, and he almost goes home. He's at the bus stop and he's going to go, and he basically says, like, Wayne, if this means anything, you need to call me right now. And he's not talking to anyone really. He's essentially praying, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yeah,
And he's saying, like, you need to call me right now. And the phone rings, and he picks it up, and it's like an automated like service that just, one of these automated calls that calls out, and it's like for, oh, if you're struggling for after losing someone on the 14th, like, call us kind of thing. It's there's help available. It's just one of these places, one of these charity phone calls that are automated. And he sees humour in this. He thinks it's funny that this is what happened immediately as soon as he gets the phone call. But it's enough because he doesn't leave. Because we see the bus go past and he's still sitting at the bus stop, and he goes back to get Christine. He's kind of... But he has that moment where he almost gives up and goes home. He wants to go back to his family. He wants to go and see his dad and feel safe.
I think it's interesting that obviously we're talking about faith and hope, and in the town everyone seems to have given it up, and we saw how Jill maybe hasn't quite, but him here, he has the moment of doubt, but then he reaffirms and doubles down and goes back.
Yeah, but I even wonder though, is it faith, or is he just re-upping and saying I need to keep her safe? Is it less about the belief and more about keeping her safe, because he does have feelings for her, he does feel like the need to protect. I don't know. And he does go back, and she's like, oh, I knew you'd come back, and they draw the symbols on their heads so they look like some of these hippies that are going around to be kind of invisible, as he puts it.
This town's version of the GR, I believe. It's kind of the impression I got.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
they're going around with no shoes on. They got they're all in the same sort of clothes. They got the symbol on the head. The no shoes, I thought, was like the whole point was, now we don't need these possessions. They're not worth it.
Yeah, it's their version of that, whatever that means.
I love the idea that every town that's like has their version of that.
I wonder if it's the whole idea with the no shoes is that they like to keep their feet in the ground.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Keeps them grounded because they can actually feel the earth in their feet. Is that the bullshit reasoning? Probably, I don't know. But no, I think it's actually really fascinating to me, because obviously we found out that Kevin's not his real biological father, even though he very much is his father. Because we see how worried he gets for him when he tries to phone him and his number's been disconnected. He gets upset about it. He's upset that he can't contact him, and I think it's interesting. But no, so that was episode 4, and apologies if that was like a weird kind of scattershot conversation compared to normal. It's just kind of hard to talk about it again when we've already had we had 90% of that conversation already, so it was hard to...
The only stuff we had left was like the back half of that Tom bit.
Yeah, we'd already started that last chunk with Tom, and we talked about everything else already, so apologies if we ended up missing a section or a scene that might have been worth talking about because we're not sure if we've talked about it already. So yeah, it's awkward having to do this twice, so apologies if this one came across. I don't think it was too bad though, so hopefully it still played.
No, there was definitely, we both came up with some new points that we didn't make before, so the discussion was actually a little bit different, so it wasn't just reiterated.
Yeah, so hopefully that didn't play too weird if you're enjoying these reviews. And hopefully no more tech issues prevent anything else. Now the plan is still to have another episode of this done on Sunday to get back to the 2 a week, even though this one's later, so they're really close together, but that is still the plan on Sunday. Yes. So we should see you then. So thank you very much for watching. Let us know what you thought of this episode of The Leftovers in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on Twitter, mail_fuzz. Check out patreon.com/mailfuzztv. You get these early, these leftover reviews. You get these a week early if you're $1 or up on Patreon. So by all means, check out that. But that is us, guys. So thank you once again. Again, apologies for things being late and whatnot. We should be back on track now, hopefully. That is us. So once again, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. Keep watching TV. Goodbye.